Chargers' biggest rumor during this offseason is, could star pass rusher Khalil Mack be on the move? And what does this mean for the Chargers in their cap strain situation? Find out this and more here on Chargers Syndicate. What's going on, you guys? Jake Silva here on Chargers Syndicate, giving you everything Chargers news and more. If it is your first time, I encourage you guys to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button to keep you up to date on future and past videos of everything you need to know, Chargers news and more. So, of course, we were going to get into this topic because as part of this whole thing with the cap casualties and, of course, trade scenarios for the Chargers moving forward, because right now the Chargers are in a position where they've got a cap right now that they need to start shedding down. And the only unfortunate part is we did a previous video beforehand with Mike Williams, and now we're going to get into the topic of Khalil Mack. So just as reported from ESPN's Jeremy Fowler is that today that Khalil Mack is one in particular that multiple teams have had an eye on. And the whole perspective is that the Chargers made a move before June 1st that it would save them $23 million in the cap space, which would allow the Chargers to potentially extend and maybe go and get free agent pieces in the middle of it. It's hard to move on from a guy like Khalil Mack, in my opinion, because honestly, I love the grit and grind that he gives to the team. And honestly, I love him more than I basically love, in this case, Joey Bosa. Because Bosa in the last few years, he's kind of shown that he's been a liability with the Chargers. And once Khalil Mack got traded from the Chicago Bears to the LA Chargers, you could already see that there's a huge impact that he's given to the team. Since he's been a part of the team from 2022 to 2023, what Khalil Mack's presence has given is it's given the Chargers an edge on defense. So he has played in all 17 games as being a part of the LA Chargers, totaling at least 50 tackles in 22, where he had 33 solo tackles and 17 assisted, while also recording 8 sacks and 2 forced fumbles in the middle of it and recovering both those fumbles. So Khalil Mack has already shown that his presence with the Chargers defense has exploded, regardless of basically the whole coaching debacle that had seemed to steer the Chargers defense away. And in 2023, where this was one of his best years ever since he had been in the league from Oakland to Chicago, Khalil Mack put up career numbers to where he had 74 total tackles, recording of when he was first approached in the NFL, with 57 total tackles, 17 assisted, and also recorded a career-high 17 sacks with 5 forced fumbles. So you already know that his price value and what he's going to basically bring to any team, depending on if the Chargers really do trade him, he's a big fit for any defense that's looking for guys that are going to be big-time pass rushers and how exactly they're going to handle this. And Khalil Mack, a lot of people thought he's got not much in the juice with all the injuries and such, but the 33-year-old has shown that he is not washed, and he's also somebody that could very much build potentials with any team. The pros of trading away a guy like Khalil Mack is a few reasons. One, it sheds the cap situation where the Chargers right now are right around $30 million left, and trading him away before June 1st would give them $23 million to take away. So that'll basically give them a little bit more of an edge, but then they'll have another big contract that they really have to get rid of as well. But in this case, Khalil Mack, another pro of him is he's coming off of a career high of sacks. So any team he goes to with a high grit defense, somebody that's looking for a potential, he probably will end up looking like a secondary edge rusher somewhere, but basically be a huge mentor when it comes to the game. So Khalil Mack, let's say you put him in Detroit or you put him in any other defense, he will definitely show you infinite results. So with this being put in mind, I'd say he's probably got about at least 3 years left in the tank before I would consider, well, he probably doesn't have much left to do. He's going to be right up at the end of his prime. So Khalil Mack, will serve to be a huge asset for any defense he decides to go to, if in fact that is to happen. The con of giving away Khalil Mack is that now, I mean, to me personally, I love him because of his grit, dog mentality. And he's also somebody that has helped to produce one of the rookies that the Chargers got in the second round last year in Tuli Tolaputo. And this kid, because of his style and his character and how he builds upon on this defense, Khalil Mack was responsible for Tuli's growth because Tuli ended up becoming the second best rookie in the draft class, almost winning defensive rookie of the year. But this kid shows a lot of promise. And he's also somebody that ended up filling up in the most crucial spot when Joey Bosa was hurt. So that's where part of that, it's hard to really kind of take away a guy like Khalil Mack because I would rather have his work ethic than Joey Bosa's. The one big thing about it is, of one of the cons, is one, we don't really have a dog in the building. So losing a guy like Khalil Mack, who is going to basically be the next guy to step up for? Joey Bosa? The last few years, Joey Bosa has been nabbed with injuries. He's also had character issues on and off the field, with as far as he's been taunted by many fans that were out there. If people recall the video from San Francisco where he was taunted while he was out there supporting his brother Nick. The other part is, you've seen him on national television on a playoff game against Jacksonville where he threw his helmet down twice. And Brandon Staley just basically picked it up and was not screaming at his face. So to have a guy like that, and one more other thing is, by the time he was injured, he's not down on the field with Justin Herbert at all, supporting, pumping these guys up, and trying to, at the very least, get the most juice out of them. He was up and in the high stands. I'm sure he was probably enjoying one of his protein fit yogurts, but he didn't look like he had a care in the world. He was just basically sitting on the contract extension that the Chargers gave him a couple years ago. So to me, I'd hate to have a mentality like that. I would rather have a guy that is willing to be invested in Jim Harbaugh and is somebody that's going to learn under Jesse Minter's defensive schematics, because these are guys that are going to bring in dogs in the defense, whether it's coming from Michigan or whether it's coming from somewhere in the free agent market or maybe based upon trades. You never know. But to lose a huge asset like that in Khalil Mack is just going to be one that's going to really change the dynamic and the identity of the Chargers defense and what they're trying to build upon. Because I would want a guy, me personally, I would keep Khalil Mack. I would find a way to rework the deal, but at the same time, I'd be getting rid of Joey Bosa. Because if you're not going to be mentally and fully invested in this team, then we don't need it. That's just the coaching personality of me. I would rather have a guy that is willing to bring his blood, sweat, and tears out on the field on a daily basis, and a guy that's going to work, and he's a revolving force around him. That's why Tuli played at his best. I would rather work with him, and with the time frame with Khalil Mack, I probably would at least get 2 years left of juice he's got left in the tank before I would go out into the draft, because next year, besides this year's draft, which is heavy on tackles and quarterbacks and wide receivers, next year's going to be heavy on pass rushers. So at that point, that gives me a 2-year gap window with Khalil Mack to where I could get the most juice out of him, have him continue to build Tuli so that he is defined as one of the star franchise pass rushers. But then at the same time, I can move on from Khalil Mack and then go and draft my next big pass rusher next to Tuli. So there's lots of possibilities from here. I'd hate to lose a guy like Khalil Mack, but if this is what Joe Ortiz decides to do, then my only hope is either Joey Bosa needs to get mentally invested with this team, or I better find somebody that's going to, at the very least, help out Tuli in any way, shape, or form, because that is a guy that has shown since he's been here, he's been fully healthy. He has not missed a game. And at the same time, he's coming off of a career high of sacks. So the Chargers really need to rework this whole thing and really make it work for the Chargers to keep Khalil Mack, and hoping that he is not going to be touched by any other NFL franchise that's out there that wants a big-time dog as a pass rusher. Appreciate you guys tuning into the video. hopefully we'll see what happens with Khalil Mack, but I hope that the Chargers really do keep him. But I appreciate you guys checking out this video, and there's going to be so much more. Like